You're eager to use the many LLMs offered by Hugging Face, but you're not sure where to begin. The genie of the AI lamp will demonstrate how to do this on your laptop with LM Studio and run local models like Llama 3, for instance, even if you don't have any GPU. Let's discover LM Studio, a very useful tool that you can install on your desktop, whether it's macOS, Windows, or Linux box. Here I'm on Windows, and it's very easy to discover, download, and run local models from Hugging Faces, for instance. So let's go through the GUI first. So this is the website. I'll go now to the GUI here. So the GUI is pretty straightforward. Here you can look up for models. For instance, let's say I'm looking for models based on Falcon, foundational model. Then the desktop application will connect to Hugging Face and display all the available model for me to use. If I want to use one model, I can click there and download. You have the size that will be used on your disk. You have the indication if you can use some GPUs, if you have GPUs on your desktop or laptop. All right, and you have other information, the details on the models and stuff. All right, very easy to use like that. Then when you have a model, you can download them. If I go there in my models, you see that I already downloaded two models, Zephyr, that is based on Mistral, and the brand new Llama 3 model. Here they are downloaded. They are both 7 billion parameters model. They come from Hugging Face. They were packaged by the blog for Zephyr or by the LM Studio community to be even more easy to use in LM Studio. All right, and you have the date. So I downloaded it 10 years ago. All right, and it's possibly supported. Then I have to load the model into memory. So if I go to now the AI chat tab, here you can see that my model is already loaded in memory, and you have the RAM usage here on my desktop. And if I go and I want to discuss now, let's make a new chat and ask him with some parameters that I'll put here. Like, for instance, I want short answer. I'll say, give me 30 token answers and have a temperature of 0.5, for instance. You can configure the system prompt. Okay, and you have many other parameters that you can set, like GPU settings. You can go into details and stuff. But let's, for the sake of this demo, go pretty straightforward and just ask, like, for instance, please, well, or even tell me a joke. Right. Now, we wait a while. You can see that here it is processing. You can see the CPU. So I have no GPU here. I'm just using CPU on my laptop. And you can see the CPU usage is here right now. So the model is running locally, definitely. And I'm waiting for the answer to come. So now, here's the answer. You can see that the streaming is on. So, why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? Wait for it. Okay, because it was too tired. All right. Well, that's a funny one, let's say. You can see it's a little bit slow because it's on my laptop. It's not that powerful. But that's a very interesting part of those open models that you can download with smaller sizes, and you can really run them on locally. So it's really cool. So that's the first part of the demo I wanted to make. You can obviously download many other models and play with them. You can you want answers to be formatted in Markdown, in plain text, and you can do everything you do generally with large language models, like regenerate the answer, change the parameters, copy the results, delete, create new conversation, export the content of the conversation and stuff. And then obviously you can eject the model and then load a different model, another model that you already downloaded on your desktop, right? So very nice. You also have a playground here. I won't go into it, but now there are new features in the LM Studio that allows to have multi-model sessions. I won't go into it. The interesting part for me is also the local server. It's very, very easy with LM Studio to start a local server, a local inference server, for instance here. So if I clear all the logs here, what I can do is just by pressing this button, I will start a server, and the LM Studio will expose an API locally. So on my localhost endpoint here with this server port 1234, and you can see it abstracts all the different models and expose it as a OpenAI compatible compatible API, like you see v1 /chat/completion, and you have examples how to make hello world, how to chat in Python and stuff. So very easy also to test even your code locally without accessing to a remote LLM, whether it's behind an API and a paying API like OpenAI or other Mistral huge models or stuff, or a local model that you can run on your own premises without paying any money to access to the API, for instance. Here you also have some advanced configuration parameters that you can have here, still on the model that is loaded. So we can see Llama is loaded here. So basically here you have the logs of the server, and you can see that is listening on the 1234 port for API calls to come in. So let's move on now to a notebook, Jupyter Notebook file. So I'll go in my browser here and move, yes, to my notebook here. So here, so if you want to have all the detailed instruction how to run JavaScript, so basically Node.js code within a Jupyter Notebook, you can refer to previous video I made on that in very detailed mode. So you have all the instruction to do that. Here, what I'll do is I'll just run the prerequisite here. So declare sh function that will be very handy for me later on. Then I will need to install later on some Node.js libraries. Through the LM Studio UI, we already went through all this. Now we want to get into details about the LM Studio's APIs. So I just started the local inference server, as you saw, and now what I want to do is to run API call. So here I'm just using the basic fetch Node.js command to call exactly the same endpoint here. It is a post method. I want JSON results, and the message is composed of a system message that states that the LLM is an AI assistant answering tech question, and I want to know what is Java. Temperature 0.7, 30 max token. I don't want to stream because if I wanted to stream within Jupyter Notebook, I had to do more code. So let's go like that. And when the answer is sent to Jupyter, just display the results. All right. So let's run this code. So now you can see there's a promise. It's running right now. So let's go back to the LM Studio LM Studio Windows. Here you can see that content, what is Java. So you can see that the result is here. And you can see even if the stream is not written continuously in Jupyter Notebooks, then you can see the token and the count of the token used. So 1, 2, 3, 4 token, and you can see the answer that is building up here. So Java is a high-level object-oriented stuff. So let it go to 20 or 30. I don't remember how much I put in my query, but that would go. So it's building out the answer. And as I said, what is very interesting is the API to access Llama or Zephyr or any other model that you downloaded from Hugging Face will be exactly the same. All right, so the result now is here. Let's go back to Jupyter. And here you can see the result here. Java is a high-level object-oriented programming language, blah, 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 blah. All right. And it's cut there because I asked like 30 token max. Okay, so that's cool. That's very cool because you can use it from obviously Node.js. You can, in Jupyter, you can use Node.js application. You can use any language that you want who is able to call an API. You can also use a framework like LangChain in Python, in JS, or now in even Java version with LangChain4j. You can make your own API calls and code LLM-based application. All right, so to create a chatbot, AI assistant, copilot, whatever you want. Very nice, very easy to test and to try it locally and access many models exposed by Hugging Face, for instance. Another nice stuff in LM Studio, in the new version of LM Studio, is they also provide a TypeScript SDK if you want to connect directly to LM Studio without going through these APIs. So to do that, you have to install the prerequisite I was talking about, ESM hook, which allows then to load NPM model. So let's run this code here. And then the SDK is very useful because you can do a lot of interesting thing here. For instance, the code here, what I do is I load, so now it's installed. Yes, that's okay. So this is JavaScript code. So remember from the previous video, everything is var because the code can be run multiple times. So we can't have constants here. So I do require the LM Studio .js SDK that is provided by LM Studio. All right. And then I can instantiate a new object called LM Studio Client. And then, for instance, I want to list all the models that are available in the LM Studio. So I just run this code, and then I have the answer. So just like we saw before in the UI, I have two models that have been downloaded locally on my laptop. The first one is Llama 3 that is currently running, and the other one is Zephyr. All right. Now I want to see the model that are loaded in memory. And then what I can see is that, yes, this is Llama 3 that is actually running into my laptop RAM memory. Okay, so you see, very easy to interact with LM Studio even from the code side of things. Now I want to do some chat and some discussion with LM Studio. So for instance here, I can ask with an asynchronous call, connect to this LLM, so Llama 3, and then complete with a prompt. And the prompt will be, why is the sky blue? All right, because it's quite quite a bit long, and before that I asked like for 200 tokens, but you can see that yes, Llama 3 is answering and giving the response back here. All right, so very nice also. Another thing, before closing up and wrapping up with this very short introduction, is the CLI. So the new version of LM Studio also comes with a CLI called LMS. So it's another project that is open source. Remember, the LM Studio itself is not open source, but those helper tools like the CLI and the TypeScript SDK are open source. Okay, and then when it's installed, it does provide the LMS command that allows also to interact with LM Studio from the command line. To activate it in Jupyter, you need first to run the bootstrap function, like this one on Windows. It's all documented in the LM Studio CLI documentation online, of course. And on Windows, that will be this command, and on Linux, that will be this one. All right. But because I want also to activate it and use the LMS CLI from Jupyter, I have to add it to the Anaconda environment variable. And on Windows, what I'll do is I change and I go into the Conda folder and then type this command. I need also to edit this batch files and underscore vars just to add the path. So add the path of LM Studio to the general path environment, and then restart the Anaconda global Python and global Jupyter environment. Okay, then from there I can start using the CLI. For instance, if I use my helper function from the beginning and just launch LMS, then I have the result of the command that is written here, return. So you can see that, yes, it's CLI, and you have the details of all the action that you can have and from the CLI. So have the status of the LM Studio, manage the server, list of the downloaded model, the loaded models, and etc., etc. Check the logs, bootstrap. That's what we just did to bootstrap the LMS command. So it's very easy, very, very convenient, and that's what I like with LM Studio. It's pretty easy to install and to start using and play with models, whether you use the UI, but also you can use API with the local inference server. You can also, even from your code or from a Jupyter Notebook, like in my brief tutorial, you can even from the code play and interact with LM Studio itself, start, load models and stuff. And for me, it's very promising because it paves the way for a server version of LM Studio that maybe could run in a Docker container and be deployed somewhere, on Kubernetes or on the cloud, and then for you to interact with this Docker version. Very nice. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope it gave you some insight and and specifically on how easy it is to play with open models. And LM Studio is a very good tool for that. Even, yes, if my only regret maybe is it's not open source, but those guys are doing marvelous work. So I really want to thank them for all they're doing. Thank you very much. And stay tuned for others details and other tools that I will try to introduce and demonstrate in upcoming videos. Bye-bye. And that's it for now. Keep making wishes, and maybe the GenAI's lamp will fulfill them. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.